Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Becky Brown.
That you are joining us today, and by us I mean Dr. Alice Benton, Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris, and myself. We're going to take your calls for the next 2 hours. You can call us at 1-800-229-3000. And I just want to invite you into this time because I know that you've got stuff on your mind, on your heart, in your relationships that you might need some help, and we can do what we can to help you get on that pathway. One of the questions that we get all the time is about parenting in this new age, in the 21st century, and it's across the ages. It's not just with our adult sons and daughters, but also with those that we're raising. And I know, Alice, you are in the thick of it right now with your own family. Yes. But one of the most exciting things is that Alice has written a book with Steve about parenting in a screen-saturated world or a screen-filled world. And we're going to have a webinar next August. It's free next Wednesday, August 1st, or Tuesday, I think it is. Sorry.
Yep.
It's Tuesday. Yeah. August 1st. It's a free webinar, 1 p.m. Central, and you can register and get all this information. But I thought since Alice is with us today, let's have a conversation about some of the challenges that parents are facing with all these screens everywhere.
Well, Becky, when parents are surveyed, they identify screen management as one of the most conflictual parts of parenting. And this is over 60% of parents say this is the most hot button issue in their homes. So we all know it's really difficult to know how to manage screens. And something we'll be sharing more about in the webinar is that most of us parents go to one of two extremes. Either we overly limit because we're so aware of the on-screen risks. And so we try to get our kids into wholesome off-screen activities. It's not a bad thing, but we can actually go too far. I'm guilty of this style of parenting because if our children don't get enough practice on screens early on, then they are actually more vulnerable to misuse screens later. Actually, for pornography, they are the most vulnerable category of children with the parenting style of overly limiting. That shocked me when I started looking into the research. But the other end of it, overly permissive, it does a really good job of avoiding the conflict, and permissive parents are really aware that it's sometimes not worth the argument. And so they allow children to have more authority over their own screens. So it does lower the conflict level in those homes. But children of enablers are more vulnerable to addictive screen use, more vulnerable to even giving strangers information, online private information. So the middle of the road approach, which is called the digital mentor, is actually the most effective. And just one of the characteristics is family joint on-screen activity. So when I saw this research, Becky, I was motivated to try playing video games with my kids. And I am the worst to play games that way.
I think I might be.
You do? Okay, we might be tied for the worst. Becky, it took me about 5 months to actually do it because it's so unnatural for me to play with my kids that way. I want to get them off screen. I don't want to get on screen with them. But it's a form of both modeling for our children. It's a way to bond in an area they are most interested in. And they'll be more likely to be safe on screen if we parents will join them and show an interest in what they're doing. Folks, we have so much more information to share with you about how to put these ideas into practice because it's so much easier said than done. So please sign up. Join us for the free webinar. If you can't watch it at the time we air, it'll be available to you afterwards as well. But sign up.
You can go to newlife.com/webinar and you will see the information there. You're going to be with Steve on this webinar and it's going to be powerful. As a grandma, I actually have played video games with my grandkids. I die every time and they think that's the funniest thing because I can't do anything but just die. But it is a great way to connect because this is the world that they live in.
That's right.
And we want to be part of that. We want to be part of your world too. Call us 1-800-229-3000. We'll be right back after this.
New Life Ministries saved my completely broken marriage.
This is Steve Arterburn. Do you feel like your marriage is broken? New Life can help. Our Intimacy in Marriage workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy and Marriage workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to have that great marriage you always want.
3.5 years later, we're still going strong, and I would encourage really anybody who's struggling in their marriage to go to a New Life workshop. They are more effective than anything else we tried.
1-800-NEWLIFE.
At New Life, we are passionate about helping people experience recovery. And it's no exception when it comes to recovery from the addiction to drugs or alcohol. We are very grateful to have found what we believe is the premier facility to offer a Christian 12-step model of care. It treats the whole person and offers biblical values as the foundation for treating the mind, body, and spirit. Our partner in drug and alcohol addiction provides exemplary medical and psychiatric care, as well as Christian-based psychotherapy, pastoral counseling, biblical studies and meditation, educational groups, worship and prayer, and a Christian 12-step program. The approach is non-denominational and guides the patient to experience freedom through a renewed relationship with Jesus Christ. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you or someone you love is struggling with drug or alcohol addiction. That's 1-800-639-5433, or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Dr. Alice Benton, and we're taking your calls for a couple of hours today. So give us a call at 1-800-229-3000. We've got a couple of lines open, and I just want to encourage you, women, we're going to have an event at the Museum of the Bible, October 27th and 28th. It's called Lumina, and God's Word is alive, and we want it to be alive in you. And so for women, we want you to come and spend the day as well as the next day in the museum. You can go to luminawomen.org and get all the information. But I just want to put out that invitation because I think it'll make a huge difference in yours and your girlfriend's life. You want to grab some friends and just make a weekend of it. So we look forward to seeing you there. We're going to go to the calls, and we have some lines open. So keep calling 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk with Sandy. She's calling us from Washington, D.C., listens on WAVA. Hello, Sandy. How can we help you today?
I'm calling because I received a phone call yesterday from my sister regarding my 15-year-old son, and he apparently had got my 5-year-old niece to touch his penis. Now, it wasn't skin on skin, but, I feel like this is still a problem, and I spoke with authorities, and they said unless my sister wanted to press charges, there wasn't really anything they could do. And my sister does not want to press charges. She feels that he needs help, and I'm calling to find out what help I can get him.
It's so hard, Sandy. We hear your heart breaking. It is very difficult. Jacqui, why don't you go ahead and start?
I think we should just help Sandy find a counselor for her 15-year-old son in her area. And I applaud your sister for caring so much for her nephew and not wanting to send him down a path that might be even more problematic, but also both of you knowing that something needs to be done is, I think, key. And he needs therapy. He needs understanding and a conversation as well. Have you spent time discussing with him what went on?
Yes, I spoke with him, as soon as she, told me. When he got home, I spoke with him, and I said, and he claims that he didn't encourage it, but a 5-year-old's not going to lie about something like that. So I think it was his way to kind of stay face of, you know, of the shame and, you know, and I know he knows what he did was wrong, because I asked him, I said, do you think this is, he goes, no, I told her to stop. And I said, okay, you know, but I know that there are, you know, 15-year-olds are in that hormonal stage as well. And so I don't know if it was truly innocence, but I doubt that a 5-year-old would lie. So.
Yeah, and even if, you know, there was some joking around and some playing around and we thought it was funny, and a lot of times kids will like crack jokes or say things that they in the moment think is funny, but that ends up getting them in just a whole lot of trouble. And so I'm really glad that he has family that will ask him the questions, that will confront the problem and not sweep it under the rug. Happy for the 5-year-old as well as for your son that they have parents and family that is looking out for them and willing to take these hard steps to get them the help that they need. She may also need to talk to someone to be able to process what went on. So something maybe to share with your sister, Dr. Alice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sandy, is this the first time your 15-year-old has ever given you cause for concern, even if it's just in the area of deceit?
No, he has an issue with lying. So, and I told him that. I said, you know, and I had been telling him for a couple years now. I said, there's going to come a time when there's something major that's going to happen, and I'm not going to believe you because you have a pattern of lying. And so I told him that yesterday. I said, here is an example that you may be telling the truth, but I don't believe you, because of your past choices.
Mom, you are taking a strong stance with that, and I'm glad that you challenged him in that way. Tell me, have you ever been concerned about pornography use before or excessive masturbation?
I don't know about the masturbation, but I've caught, you know, a few years ago, I caught him with pornography. We talked about that. I said, this isn't healthy for you. And, you know, and I caught it a few more times. So then I locked out all the technology that is open in the house, and I took away the tablet, and he doesn't have a cell phone. He hasn't owned a cell phone.
So, Sandy, I'll interrupt there to just say you're doing so many of the right steps in addressing it right away when it happens, and it sounds like you're addressing it alone. Where's his father in all this?
He's not involved. He has never been involved.
Oh, Sandy. So. You're a lone parent here trying to tackle an almost insurmountable problem, and yet you made so many right moves. So I'm going to say something pretty controversial. If your son is willing to go into therapy and he quickly starts to show remorse and truth-telling, then I would not necessarily pursue your sister pressing charges. If he remains not remorseful, and he's dismissing it and he's downplaying it and he keeps lying, it could actually be beneficial for charges to be pressed against him. Because if we are engaged in lawless behavior and we keep going on that path, even with gentler interventions, sometimes we have to bring the law to bear. Now, I don't want that to happen to your son, and I would want that to be the last scenario to have to go to. And so I might say something to him like, as you've already been doing, I might add to it to say, you and I both know you've got a history of lying. And so I have to believe my niece on this one. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. If you will go into therapy and you will start getting honest about what you're doing and you will fully submit to everything the therapist tells you to do, then I'm not going to encourage my sister to press charges. I'm going to accept her mercy, her undeserved mercy. If you don't get honest and you will not show remorse, I will ask her to press charges because I love you that much that I'm going to take that strong stance with you because I don't want you to spiral further into lawlessness. And I will take that route if I have to because I love you, son. Now, Sandy, I even got loud saying that, so I want to invite you to tell us how that affects you and what you think about my advice.
Well, I was going to go to the cops myself, even with my sister saying no, because I feel like he needs a wake-up call or, you know, for lack of but a come to Jesus moment, literally. And so I really am, you know, I've been, you know, been in church his whole life. He has accepted Christ as his Savior, but
the softer approaches you've been taking are not working, and you've already seen that for years.
They're not really, yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, and I recognize I'm a female trying to coach a male,
yes.
and so it you know, I'm playing mom and dad, and my dad role doesn't always penetrate or get through or whatever. So, you know, I understand that, but
Sandy, Sandy, I'm going to jump in. Let us link you with a strong male therapist who's been well vetted by New Life and who can kind of co-parent with you and fill in that role of a strong male authority figure. That would certainly help in this position because you need that extra support. You've done a great job. So let us come alongside and help you even further.
I appreciate that.
Sandy, we'll be praying for you. We're going to send you a copy of Every Young Man's Battle, and we're going to connect you, like Alice said, with a counselor. And I do think that these are those decisions that are made that 20 years down the road, you want to look back and say, this was a turning point. This is, you know, this was a good turning point. And so many times when we don't do those difficult decisions, 20 years later, we look back and say, we should have. You know, so we're praying for a great outcome on that one. And we're so grateful that you called, Sandy. We're going to continue to take calls, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to speak with Dan, who's calling us from Denver, listens on Sirius XM. Hello, Dan. How can we help you today?
Hello, ladies. Thank you for taking my call. Sure appreciate everything you do. I guess I have I don't know if it's an addiction, but I have a heavy reliance on my phone. I play on my phone, and I don't do it consciously. I mean, I'm on social media, or I'm playing a solitaire game, or I'm just reading, but it's causing kind of an issue. It's causing some stress. My wife gets kind of defensive about it. Well, not so much defensive. It bothers her. It puts her off guard. That I might be not necessarily up to something, but in the past I did have an improper relationship. It wasn't. I see it as, in hindsight, as adulterous. She doesn't see it quite that bad, but I don't. I see. I had an online or a remote work relationship with somebody, and it went from being work to carrying over to personal, and we were very involved.
Dan, I'm so proud of you that you're humbly acknowledging and even using that ugly word, adulterous relationship. Dan, you're calling the right place for a lot of different reasons. One being, Dan, I was also emotionally unfaithful online during my marriage. So I feel compassion for you and mercy for you because it's so easy to get sucked into an improper relationship on screen. And so that you're leading with that is incredibly helpful, that we can better serve you knowing it. Will you tell us what kind of structured help are you getting both for that rupture in marriage relationship and for your use of your phone?
Well, we did go to intimacy and marriage, and that's what kind of kicked things in perspective for me, and I ended everything completely. I just said we can't have contact, and this is why. It's because I don't see it as being faithful to my role as a husband, as a father, as a Christian. I said, I ended everything, and that's been a couple of years, no contact, no whatever.
And have you continued in ongoing therapy or structured help since intimacy and marriage?
I have not. My wife has occasionally.
What's keeping you from doing it as well, Dan?
I really don't know, I guess.
Dan, when you were at intimacy,
I'm sorry.
When you were at intimacy and marriage, did you learn anything about yourself, about like your attachment or anything? Like what type of lover are you? Are you open and connective? Are you a little more reserved with your emotions?
I'm very reserved with them. I'm
So-
also what we consider a pleaser, where my wife was a vacillator, and
So the pleaser part of you wants to avoid conflict and do things that feels good, and playing on your phone, playing solitaire, swiping, all of that is hitting all the pleasure center in your brain, and you're getting like hit after hit after hit of dopamine and no conflict. However, it's making your wife feel uncomfortable, and it sounds like it's making you feel uncomfortable. Dr. Alice asked about therapy. Would you be open to going to therapy to work with someone to help you figure out what it is you may be trying to avoid by spending so much time on your phone?
I'm not opposed to it. No, I just the reason therapy is kind of an issue is I'm self-employed, so we have the bare bones insurance.
Dan, hold on.
Yeah.
Dan, hold on just for a second. We're going to go to a break, and we'll come back after the break to discuss a little bit more about that. We're glad you called.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first step. You know, we're going to take calls for the next hour and a half or so, and maybe you need to use your phone for that, like Dan did. 1-800-229-3000. We'll be back right after this.
My girlfriends and I have been searching for so long to try to find an event to attend.
Lumina is a new women's conference designed to inspire your faith so you can lead and live confidently from God's Word.
It was nice to come here and just realign myself with who God says He is in my life.
The Lumina Conference is a 2-day experience. 1 full day of worship and teaching in Museum of the Bible's World Stage Theater, and a half-day guided tour through Museum of the Bible.
You are literally immersed in the Word of God. You can walk through the Old Testament. You can walk through the New Testament.
Lumina is for women of all generations, cultures, and denominations. It's a great place to gather with women from your church and community.
If you want some fellowship and you want to be strengthened, this is the place you want to be.
This year's Lumina Conference is October 27th and 28th in Washington, D.C.
It was absolutely life-changing.
For more information, go to luminawomen.org.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We would love to hear from you, and you can call us 1-800-229-3000. Right now we're talking with Dan, who admits to having an addiction to his phone. And Dan, I just want to say you're not alone in that. There's a lot of us that love our phones. I don't know about addiction, but it is a helpful tool. And it's more than a phone. It's a computer. It's an email sender. It's a connection tool. So that makes sense that it gets very attractive to a lot of folks. But I also love that you were saying that at one point you misused it and it affected your marriage. Now, Jacqui, do you want to continue with your thought?
My thought is that we could maybe help you, Dan, find some connection outside of the phone. A lot of what you're doing in the phone makes sense. It soothes you. It takes up time. And as Becky said, most of us are doing those similar things. We just love our phone. Does our GPS. It's games. It's got the books in it, so you can get caught up spending lots of time on your phone. While we're getting you to where you can meet with either a life recovery group or start seeing a therapist that is more affordable in your area, consider checking out the timer. There are ways to look at your phone to see how much time are you actually spending on it, and so you can see what's your digital life look like. And if you're not sure how to do that, go to the store of, if you have AT&T or Verizon, and they can show you how to do it, and that way it can notify you. You can even set it so that it'll go into very basic mode and only really allow you to receive and make phone calls after you've had the allotted amount of time. So there are things you can do in the phone to prevent yourself from using it so much. Walk in the house, drop it in the basket. Have a place where you put it before you go to bed or when you come home or at dinner time. And so you can start creating some different patterns of use with your phone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Dan, you know what I'm thinking? We're going to send you, even though it's for parents, I think we're going to send you a copy of Alice's book when it comes out, just because I think it would have some great information along the same kind of thought process. And the fact, Jacqui, that you just said that they have these mechanisms within the phone just tells you, Dan, you're not alone in this. There's a lot of other people that are dealing with that same thing. So we're glad you called today.
It's a strange thing. It's kind of, to me, like food. Right now, I feel very much like we need our technology. It makes life easier, but for a lot of us, it's work related. And so we have to find a way to balance needing to use this, just like with food. We got to eat without overdoing it. So finding some balance to where you're using it for what's necessary. It's okay to play games every once in a while, but when you find out it's taking up 8, 10, 12 hours of your day, that's a problem. And that means you're not spending that time with your wife, which is probably what's concerning her.
Yeah. And one other thing about these spaces, as you were saying, Dan, that you're a pleaser and then you had this relationship that was not part of your marriage, it shows that there's a connection. And so those feelings of connection need to go towards your wife, and you might need some help with that. We'll get you connected with a life recovery group or even a counselor. You just never know how those things will be a step towards connecting with the right person. So we are glad you called. We're going to continue to take calls. You can call us at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to go to Mindy, who's calling us from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and listens on Sirius XM. Hello, Mindy. How can we help you today?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. So I have a 32-year-old son. He's been married 6 years, and he just told me he's transgender, and he's going hormone therapy and not doing surgery at this point. But my question is, I feel for his wife, although, there's been thought that they are in this together. He told me that their relationship's never been better. But I'm very conservative Christian. What do I tell my granddaughter? Who I've been saying, God, you a girl, you are, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't even know where to go. There's no support groups for family members. Have I lost I know I've lost my son. I've gained a daughter, but I can't get my head around it. I don't even know.
Yes, we hear that, Mindy. It's a lot. There are a lot of feelings in this situation. There's a lot of just unknowns, and how do I stay connected even though this has been a big disconnect from what I've always known. Jacqui, let's start with you. What would you offer Mindy as a way forward in this situation?
Well, first, Mindy, my heart breaks for you, and this is so hard, and it's such a difference from what you expected for your life and for your son's life. And I have adult children, and so if my 31-year-old came and told me that she's a man, I think I would have some feelings about that. Even though I would love her and find a way to work through it and stay connected, I would have to grieve the loss of what I had imagined as our future together. And so if you can't get into, there's not a group yet. You make a good point. We might want to consider creating some groups to support parents who are going through these transitions with their children who are transitioning, in the Christian community especially, because I guess it can be kind of lonely. So I would say finding a therapist to support you through it would be a good first step. Dr. Alice, I know we have time going to commercial, so. Becky?
Yeah, Mindy, hold on, because you can hear the music, but we do want to hear from Alice on this. But the grief part of it is truly the biggest journey. And in parenting, as our kids get older, that is a big part of it, no matter what choices that they make for their lives. And then to your granddaughter, this is going to be a different relationship for you as well. But connection is key to all of this. We're going to be back after this. We're going to continue taking calls, 1-800-229-3000. We'll talk with Mindy again after this. We want to help you. There's lots of ways that we can help you, but you have to call, and we want to answer that phone. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are taking your calls at 1-800-229-3000. And right now we're talking with Mindy, whose son has just come out as transgender. He's married, has a child, and just all of the challenges that come with this new way of life. But Alice, what would you offer to Mindy in this time of change and just trying to stay connected?
Mindy, as you asked us how to speak with your granddaughter about this, I would guess it's the daughter of your son who's going through.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. I should have said my grandchildren, but just I have one granddaughter that I see more frequently, but they have no children, thankfully. I think.
Oh, okay. So these are different family members. Yeah.
With the kids, though, they're going to pick up off of what's going on with you. With your 5-year-old, we're just going to matter-of-factly and age-appropriately state the facts because she's not in the transition, right. And his making this transition, I know we're fearful that because somebody's doing something, it's going to make kids want to do something, and kids have their own minds. And so as long as you guys are just being honest about what's happening with him, that doesn't mean it has to happen with her.
Mm-hmm.
And Mindy, I believe that God calls us to make a strong statement of opposing truth and then not to belabor it. And even though we desire to say it over and over to try to influence and stop and save, it tends to put a wedge in between, and it actually pushes people farther away from God if we beat them over the head with the truth that we need them to accept. And so I assume you've already shared the truth with him, and if you've done so lovingly with a whole lot of grace, I would have you not continue to repeat it until God God clearly asks you to speak opposing truth again.
Right.
And I'd probably take
Well,
a
and,
similar position with the rest of the family, that really cautiously and in an age-appropriate way, I might share a biblical truth, and then I would demonstrate how we love people we disagree with.
Yeah.
You wanted to say
I
something.
mean, that's my well, his salvation. I just look at those kids, and they are just walking down such a evil, like but it's just so not what God has intended.
So let me give you a little hope in this, because Mindy, the folks I have worked with who've struggled in similar ways, once I had the honor of knowing their backstory, it became clear to me that some of these choices were perhaps the best way they dealt with pain in their lives. I didn't agree with them dealing with pain in this way, and I didn't think it was the best way. But it made me think, if I'd been in your shoes, perhaps I would have ended up making some of the same choices. It's not always, but it's often a way to deal with pain. And so keeping that gentle curiosity open, if your son would ever explain his path and his journey, usually we can have more mercy and understanding, rather than just feeling that glaring, this is sin and maybe you're not going to heaven because of it. I don't believe it is the unforgivable sin. Any sin can become the unforgivable sin if we totally shut God out and reject him. But God loves your son, obviously, of course, and this does not mean he has lost his salvation. I do not believe the Bible says it that way. It does
There's
not mean
therefore
that.
now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. This isn't affecting his salvation, but there's consequences for choices. That's what it sounds like you're saying. They're walking through this path of really dark consequences. But I agree with what you said, Dr. Alice. A lot of times this is in response to pain of experiences, but also the pain of living in your body and feeling like you're not right. Right? Some of us experience imposter syndrome in a whole lot of different ways, but I can't imagine feeling like an imposter to my gender. And so when they don't fit, they are going to try to change it. And having the love and support of family, it's so complicated when we're practicing Christians and we have deep faith and we love God and honor God with our lives. We want our children to do that as well.
And Mindy, there is more support out there. So I want to lead you to two resources. You'll have to look these up yourself. One is a fabulous book called Embodied by Preston Sprinkle, and it explains that idea that there's a backstory. There can also be a social contagion to this, but it's usually paired with a backstory of pain. And then Saddleback offers a group for parents of children struggling with similar issues like this. It's called Lead with Love, and it's available all over the nation. So look that up on the Saddleback Church website.
Okay, it's Saddleback. Okay. I want to say one thing to my sister, bless her heart. I've talked to my son. I can't call him my daughter. It's like I can't do that, but I have talked to him more since I found out than I have talked to him probably in the last 10 years. So I feel like good about that, but it's just, and my sister said, you know what, because he sent me a great letter. She said, you know what, you have more time to pray for him because he's not feeling suicidal or not feeling, he's not using drugs or he's not drinking. Because, so I feel, I don't know if it's good, but I feel relieved in some ways, but it's just hard to wrap your head around.
Mindy, when a child is willing to tell a parent directly, it is an invitation. Mom, know me. Mom, still love me, even if you disagree with me. I'm inviting you into my life, and I'm terrified you're going to reject me because this goes against your Christianity. So respond to the invitation with love and with that little bit of opposing truth if you haven't yet.
Thank you for calling, Mindy. We appreciate you calling, and we'll be praying for you. And it is tough. It is a difficult challenge, and even with all the things that Mindy you were listing about, at least it isn't this or that and the other thing. But we hear from those parents as well. It is hard to parent. You're not done when they leave the house a lot of times. And so, but there is hope, and we want to help you in any way possible. One person that helps us in many ways possible is Larry Sonnenberg. Hello, Larry. How are you today?
Doing great, Becky. And yourself?
Oh, pretty good.
Hey, I was going to have a meeting tomorrow, and I learned you're going to be on an airplane.
I sure am.
And so I wanted to tell you, get off that airplane. We got to have this meeting.
No, don't say that, because if we get canceled, then it'll be a disaster.
Where are you going? What are you going to do?
I have the privilege of serving at our Intimacy and Marriage Intensive in Washington, D.C. this weekend. And I'm so glad you asked, because there is still room if you are a couple, and whether it is time for a checkup, maybe you guys are doing well and you just need an appointment to come and spend some time away where you focus on your marriage. Or maybe you're in a tough spot and you really need help, like rescuing. That would be a good time to sign up for our Intimacy and Marriage workshop, where I will be this weekend.
Why is this workshop so exciting to attend? I have my own views because I've been there many times.
I've got mine too.
But I would like to hear what you think.
Well, one of the things that we do is we help couples understand how their histories are making an impact on their present. Everything from, why do we keep circling around the same argument all the time? Why won't she listen to me? Why won't he listen to me? How are we ever going to get through this betrayal? There are lots of things when two people decide to become one. And so we give some practical information as well as some grace-filled guidance on how to move forward. We've got great teaching sessions with J.J. West and Laura Manja McDonald, as well as our breakout groups. And that's really where the magic is. It's not just magic, it's God's grace, obviously, where we have our New Life licensed counselors who lead those groups, help those couples really kind of get into what is the thing that's keeping them disconnected, that's keeping them from having those really honest conversations. And I tell you, they're different couples from Friday to Sunday. It's really amazing to see how that change occurs.
Becky, I've gotten to sit in on the conference multiple times, and I always take notes. And the skills I learned at that conference, this is after getting my graduate education, I use those skills on a regular basis with my husband and with my children. And my marriage, my family is safeguarded because of what I learned at that weekend that still is valuable to me on a daily basis.
Becky, the other thing that comes to my mind is I read a lot of testimonies here about this time in these daily programs. And one of late that I read, the gentleman said, I came to this workshop because I wanted to show my wife that she was the problem. And the reverse, really, not the reverse, but he had an insight. God revealed to him that he's got issues and he's got reasons and he has a part in this, and he had to take care of some of that. And so go there with an open mind when you go, folks. Go there. I always tell people, don't go with an expectation. Go with expectancy. Just expect the Holy Spirit to move. If he doesn't move the way you think he should, he's still moving, and that's okay. And you have a definition of misery, Becky, relative to that.
The difference between expectation and reality is misery. And the further your expectation is away from reality, the greater the misery. And actually that's from Steve. But, here's the thing that we know for sure in marriage. It takes all that you have, because that's what it's all about. It is your whole life. And we don't want you to be married and miserable. We want you to have a great experience in your marriage. And some of you are doing really well, but you might, look at your past and say, we really haven't invested in our marriage. Maybe this is the weekend that you come and join us. And, Washington, D.C. is easy to get to. You can drive there, fly there, take a train. I don't know. However you get there, be with us this weekend. Call us and find out more information. It'll make a difference in your life. Thanks, Larry.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. you never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I want to say thank you to all of you who are Club New Life. You are giving in such a great way to help the ministry continue to help so many people. And, if you've never given before, maybe today's the day that you can go to newlife.com, give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can drop something in the mail, whatever way you do it. In July, we are going to give you a notepad that Steve designed. It's called Every Day is a New Life. And each sheet has sections to record just your thoughts, like today in the Bible, I'm praying for today's priorities. I'm thankful for contacts and connections I need to make. Today's reflection, best ideas, best moments, and a creative space. It's just our way of saying thank you. And you can know that you are making a difference in the lives of so many people. There's so many people who listen to the program who need the hope and help that we can offer them. And we do it because of the giving that you allow God to speak through your gifts, and it makes a difference in people's lives. So I just want to encourage you to do that. Right now, we're going to go to Mark, who's calling us from Dallas, and Mark is a Club New Life member. Thank you, Mark. He is calling from KWRD. Mark, how can we help you today?
Well, first, I just want to say thank y'all for everything y'all do. And I'm one of those examples of someone that received so much from y'all before being able to become a partner because of gifts of others. So I'm just thankful to be a part of it and what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. My situation is my wife and I are separated and have been separated since March. We've been married a little less than 2 years at this point. Both of us, it is our third marriage. We married after a very short time of dating. She was a single mom for basically the previous 20 years. I had an 18-year marriage that ended in just a couple years before we met. We both have 3 children. They've all been through a lot through our marriage, but our marriage was marked with a lot of traumatic events. I can elaborate on those if you guys ask. I want to say we are pursuing reconciliation, but we don't, quote unquote, have a map. We've been listening and partnering with you guys and with Focus on the Family, and there's a lot of wonderful things out there for both, but we both need to know that we need, some therapy and some individual and some marriage counseling. And for me, I'm struggling so much with some pain and trust issues. And that's just kind of where it's at right now. And I'll stop and see where you guys would like to take it.
Okay. So Mark, you want to know what are the steps to reconciliation? How do you guys get back together after all this time apart, right?
Yes, or maybe some, yes, some steps to take. We have been communicating differently than we ever have, and we've been learning a lot and going through some various things, but not just really individually focused on us, where we can dive into some of these deep things of us.
Okay.
Mark,
all right.
Mark, have you read How We Love?
No, I have not.
I would start with getting the How We Love book and workbook.
We will send that to you guys.
Yeah. And starting to work through that. And individual therapy for each of you and couples therapy together, and finding a couples therapist that works with maybe high conflict couple, or that can like be specific when we're talking about when you're searching for who your therapist is going to be, that you're in separation, and so that it's a therapist that works with that type of couple.
Okay.
But the Intimacy and Marriage Weekend would be great for the two of you.
Yes, we've been talking about that too.
Well, Mark, that might be the bold step. You guys get in the car and start driving today. You'll make it.
Yes, we would.
And Mark, it sounds like your wife is already willing to either do our weekend or to get into counseling. I encourage you to keep leading with humility. Humility wins the day, and it is God's best armament. It's his best weapon of warfare against discord and conflict. So, Mark, in addition to what you've already said, if you were to add a statement of humility of how you know you've negatively impacted the marriage, I want to invite you to craft that right now with us. And I'm going to give you my own. Mark, I know that my tendency to lie, my anxiety, my controlling patterns, and my emotional infidelity that I mentioned earlier on the show, all those three things have harmed my marriage with my husband. And when I open a conversation with humility like that, it can lower my husband's defenses to be willing to look at his part and to work on our marriage together. What would be your statement of humility?
Mine would be that from my my marriage that ended, and then the financial impact and just kind of a completely shattering of my life, I realized I began to develop a lot of thought patterns and reactionary things that made me hypersensitive, that I reacted in ways based out of my fears about my future, and I would react in ways that could come across as unloving and very controlling. I have to admit that, and I'm trying to learn to change those and dive into those things and rework how I think and process things about that, because it's been looming over me for now almost 5 years, and it's just been a lot.
Mark, with that kind of attitude, you're going to make a whole lot of progress quickly, and it will really invite your wife to humble down and do the same. And I would guess that you have probably unintentionally been punishing your wife for what the previous wives or previous relationships, the harm that they caused. And that just happens to all of us, that the past falls on our present partner. And so to use that humility to say, would you come to therapy or come to New Life Weekend with me? Because I need to work on me, and I want to undo the damage I've done. Oh, it'd be hard to not accept that invitation, Mark.
Oh, yes, thank you.
You know, one of the things you have to consider too, Mark, is the fact that if you both have had multiple marriages, there are greater chances that you both are doing the same thing, expecting different results. And, you know, and we get into these reactive cycles, and we talk about that at Intimacy and Marriage. We help couples understand how their histories are colliding. You know, and I hope, you know, maybe just stay on the line and we'll get you connected with one of our call center folks that can explain to you more. We'll send you a copy of How We Love and the workbook. Jacqui or Alice, do you have any final thoughts that you want to encourage Mark in this direction, or just for the general audience in particular about this?
Well, I'm still listening to trust, and when you said that you have a problem with trust, it made the book came up for me, and I remembered something that's important. Your trust issues have to do with you not feeling seen or known, and your fears. And if you can get with her and get to a place where you feel like you see her and know her, like model for her understanding and mirroring, and then request that back. The How We Love is going to help with that, with the comfort circle, giving you all a way to walk through a conversation that will really help you to feel like she sees me, she gets me, she knows where I'm coming from, and the reverse would be true for her. I think that's going to go a long way towards helping the two of you get to the marriage you really want.
Yeah, it's really powerful when we do our own work, how we are then safe to be able to get into closer relationships. And we don't realize we usually want it to be the other person's fault, right? Or responsibility. I want you to make me feel better. And yet we have our own work to do. The book that Jacqui's referring to is Trust by Dr. Henry Cloud. We do have that available. You can get it at newlife.com. Alice, any final words as we close?
Folks, let's be inspired by Mark. We all want people to see the best in us. When we reveal the worst, it somehow clears up people's vision of the best in us. That humility works.
That's right. If you need help, you can give us a call. We're going to keep taking calls. If you're on hold, please stay there. We'll be right back after this break. If you need help, call us. We are here for you. Thanks, Jacqui. Thanks Alice. We'll see you next time.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.